It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Central Michigan's assistant track and field coach for mid-distance and cross-country, Coach Amanda Eccleston. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college track and field?
Yeah, so it wasn't something that I had always originally wanted to do in college. I went to grad school actually for public health and was running and just continuing with that a bit after. But then my college coach at the time, Mike McGuire at Michigan, asked me to volunteer coach while I was still training under him. And I thought, that sounded pretty cool. I'd get a chance to work with the team a bit. And while I started doing it, I really started to enjoy it and liked the side of it not being about me all the time. Track is such an individual sport sometimes, and it's really easy to get caught up in how everything's affecting like you and your performance. And so it was really nice and refreshing to just be able to do things for someone else and to help other people reach their goals. And I just enjoyed that for my 5 years there. And then when I was done with my own career, I decided to go into it full time, just kind of like the next natural step because I love running and love the sport, so I wanted to be involved in it some way.
What was it like getting to go to the University of Michigan and being a part of the Michigan Wolverines?
That was very cool. I didn't join the team until I was a graduate student back in 2012, and it wasn't something I originally thought would happen. I started at a much smaller school, so it was really cool. I know I grew up in high school hearing about Michigan and how competitive they were and how successful, and just didn't know that that would ever be an option for me. And then being able to coach there as well, I had the chance to learn from some really, really great mentors. I had the chance to work with super high level college athletes. And it was pretty cool. While I was there, they built their new building, which is a beautiful facility. So it was a great experience. And it's not too far from where I grew up as well. So I really enjoyed that, staying, fairly close to family and close to home.
For you, what was that feeling like being a Wolverine and getting to represent them and putting on that track uniform?
It was pretty special. I think my favorite part was just what we were able to do as a team there. I really, really enjoyed getting to jump in right away and be with a team that was, really successful at a high level. It's kind of funny though that it ended up being Michigan. So both my parents went to Michigan State, which is a pretty big rival of Michigan, and my dad is a huge Michigan State fan. And so it was kind of funny at first because all of a sudden he's wearing maize and blue, and he's cheering for Michigan and all this, but he was very, very adamant at first. It had to say like track or cross country on his shirt or something. So he's like, I'm a Michigan track fan, but like I'm still a Michigan State, football, basketball fan and all that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was definitely pretty special because it's just, a program with a lot of really cool history. And getting to be a part of that, even just for the 1 year, was pretty awesome.
Coming out of college, what was it like getting into professional track and field and running professionally?
So that was again a little bit unexpected and not something I had planned right away. I mean, I was um a solid high school runner, but like nothing special. My times might have qualified for a walk on at Division 1, but I went Division 2. It was a better fit. Um, but throughout my whole college career, I just, kind of kept progressing and kept seeing, progress and setting bigger and bigger goals. And then when I finally finished my eligibility, I actually didn't go straight professionally. I didn't have a lot of offers off the bat, but I kept training under my coach at Michigan, kept working hard, and then ended up reaching out to Brooks myself, and kind of had some back and forth almost for like a year or two of just seeing like what was available, what could work out. I ended up getting an agent, but then finally I had sort of a breakthrough year in 2016 and just missed making the Olympic team, and that's when I like officially signed with Brooks. And I was with them for about 5.5 years after that. So it was, like I said, not, it wasn't like, oh, I graduated and the shoe companies were like knocking on the door at all. It was definitely something that took a few more years of work and progress. but it was one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. And I just really, really enjoyed the opportunities that came with that.
What was that experience like for you getting to train for the Olympics and coming a little short from the Olympics?
That year was one of the most fun years I've ever had in training. I think I had just set a really, really big goal at the beginning of the year that I wanted to make the Olympic team. And honestly, on paper, it didn't look very realistic. I had made USAs and things before, but like there were a lot of people faster and a lot of people better. But I was just really, really dedicated and focused, and honestly had more fun than I've ever had going after that. I think that's what helped me that year is just how much I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the challenge, and I had teammates who I was training with that were just like clicking everything off with me. So one of my teammates, Nicole Fuentes, she actually made the Olympics for Canada that year. And so that was really, really cool to see her get to do that in the 1500. And obviously, like just I missed it by 300ths of a second, which is not a lot in a distance race. Was pretty crazy, but at the same time, I was like, how did I even get that far? I just never, never would have imagined that. I wasn't even close to being like a state champion in high school. And then, here I am like fourth in the country, 10 years later. And so it was really awesome. I really appreciated having the opportunity to do that, and getting to do it with, some of my best friends and just getting that experience. I think being able to go all in on something you love is pretty special, and having the chance to do that was definitely a cool experience.
After competing professionally and running in college, what was that experience like getting to become a grad assistant?
So it was technically a volunteer coach at Michigan, which is kind of similar to a grad assistant. But I think it was interesting at first because you're used to being the athlete, and you're on the team and your coach is telling you what to do. And so then sort of that transition to more of like a mentor role. So a lot of what I did at Michigan, honestly, was getting to know the athletes, getting kind of to help them through like the mental side of running and the challenges with that. Like we spent a lot of time talking through whether it was race plans or, hey, what are your thoughts on like the challenges ahead? How are you feeling about this? Kind of talking them through how do you handle pressure and things. It was it was kind of cool because like I said, it shifts from being about you to being about them. I got to travel with the team quite a bit as well, which was really fun. Just getting to go to cool meets and places and then getting to see how the athletes do at those races and things. And then I didn't do a ton of administration stuff those first couple of years of volunteer coaching. It was a lot more like, I'd be at practice and assisting Mike with running workouts, and that was cool too to see like how he liked to structure his workouts, the kind of tone he liked to set. Obviously it was pretty professional, the sort of team culture and vibe he created, but obviously wanting to have fun with it and making sure we're getting what we need to get done every day. And so it was interesting to learn from him and see how he was so successful as a coach.
Throughout your career, what has it been like getting to stay in the state of Michigan and getting to compete in Michigan and coach now in Michigan?
I am super grateful that all worked out. I had always thought I wanted to go really far away and, all these schools sound so cool and exotic across the country. And even when I was looking at grad schools, the other two main ones I considered were in California and Florida. Um, and then Michigan was the third one, 45 minutes from where I grew up basically. And it was just like I couldn't say no to Michigan. It had the perfect setup between the school and between the team and what I wanted. And then what is it, 2.5 years ago? So yeah, 2021, when I decided I wanted to retire from running, I had just started looking at different coaching jobs. And I hadn't gotten very far. I think I had seen a couple and I saw the posting for Central Michigan. I was like, oh, it's in Michigan. Like, it's kind of nice to not be that far away from family. But the posting had already been up for a month. And so I was like, oh, they probably already have someone. But I ended up applying anyway because, you never know. And then, we had the Zoom interview. It went really well. And the on-campus interview, I think really like sealed the deal. I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool place. These are great people to work with. And yeah, getting to be close to home it's been pretty cool how that all worked out.
Coming to Central Michigan, what was that feeling like getting to become the assistant coach?
I was really excited. I think it's a really cool opportunity here where I was sort of given a decent amount of freedom for being an assistant coach. Our head coach Jenny's been great about letting me really have a ton of input into the mid-distance program. Being able to have, design my own training for those athletes, and, I recruit my own kids, um, and working with the cross country team as well. So I think it's been great, like working with her and learning from her. It's, one of those things where you never know when you work so closely with other people how it's going to go. And it's just been like better than I would have ever thought. We have a lot of fun, definitely. And we've really enjoyed, I think, having the two different coaches on staff. We joke a lot how, we're get along super well, but we definitely have our differences, and like personalities and things. And that provides like such a good, I guess, atmosphere for the kids. Some might gravitate towards one or the other on different things. But yeah, it's been really, really great here. This is my third year here now, and I've definitely loved being a part of the team here.
What is it like getting to coach the mid distance runners and the cross country runners?
So for mid distance, I kind of have a couple different types of athletes I work with. I work with some that are like 400, 800 specific. And this year in particular, I've got a group of 5 of them who we've done pretty specific training for them. So we do a lot of speed, a lot more turnover and things, very little volume relatively. And that group's been really fun to kind of experiment with like some different ways of training and racing. And then I've got girls who are more of your traditional mid distance, it's just like 800, 1500 runners, and those girls run cross country as well. I think coaching mid distance is really fun because you get such a variety of training methods. There's the opportunity for short, intense speed work. You also need a really high aerobic background. So we do tempos, we do the long runs, we kind of get to sample a little bit of everything. And then when it comes to like the racing and things, I know I'm biased being a mid-distance runner myself. I think there's some of the most fun to watch and to coach through races. There's just so much tactics involved in the events. So you really have to be ready for anything as an athlete in those. And that's something I try to, make sure my athletes have all those tools, so they can handle slower races. They can handle, if it's hard from the gun, they can handle races where they have to be able to kick really hard. I just think learning how to do all those things is really, it's fun to coach, and it's fun to see the athletes start to learn that and put it together. And like I said, in cross country, that's where we really overlap and work together. And I work with men's and women's cross country. And that's fun. There's something pretty special about cross country kids and cross country teams. Just the family atmosphere, the camaraderie, in some sense, like the shared suffering of how hard you have to work. That's always really drawn me to the sport. And, even if I may like the mile a little bit more personally, I think that cross country is just one of the most special types of sports and teams that you can be a part of.
What does a typical track and field and cross country meet look like at Central Michigan?
So a lot of our meets are drivable, which is kind of nice, for travel purposes, especially in the indoor season. There's so many good venues and places to race around us. So honestly, a typical meet day, it's like, we'll load up the bus sometime fairly early in the morning, and head out to wherever we're going. Some of our common places, like we go to Grand Valley, we go to Michigan, we go to Notre Dame. Those are all fairly drivable. Get there an hour or two before competition, and kind of a lot of it, the coaching is done before the meet day. So it's like we're there if the kids need us. I feel like my biggest job is probably helping manage nerves, helping calm people down, and trying to loosen them up, trying to make sure that we're there to enjoy it and have fun, because I've just kind of found that's how my kids tend to be a lot more successful, is when they enjoy what they're doing. So again, cross country, it's a little bit more black and white. There'll be usually a men's race and a women's race, so kind of your groups are competing together. When we get to track, oh, we could be there all day. Sometimes you're there for 8 hours with all the different events and races going on. But yeah, it's a lot of balancing emotions, just helping coach through races when you need to. But like I said, the real work and the coaching is done, and it's the kids' opportunity to just go out there and see what they can do.
What is that experience like, getting to see those different teams that you may not get to see in other sports that Central Michigan has?
So track is kind of unique in the fact that most of our events have a lot of other teams we're competing against. In cross country, we might have meets with 40, 50, 60 other teams. And, this ranges from some smaller D2, D3, all the way to like your Big Ten, your, SEC. We don't normally see like Pac-12 and Big 12 too much just because we don't, go too far out of the region usually. But it's pretty cool because you do get the chance to compete against like a huge variety of competition. And so it's nice if we do have a little bit of a range on our team and abilities. It's like, hey, some of our top runners can compete really well against Big Ten athletes. And maybe for some of the more developmental athletes, it's perfect having a lot of Division II schools to compete against. So we definitely enjoy that. We compete against the MAC a lot, the Mid-American Conference schools, because that is the conference that we're in. Um, tend to, for the most part, be pretty similar, in types of schools and things. But yeah, we get to kind of compete with everything and definitely enjoy like the different opportunities that provides.
Can you talk about a course of culture that you've started to help to build for the track and field and cross country program at Central Michigan?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I think drew me here when I was considering this as a place to work. And I kind of think it starts with the coaching staff just having a bit more of like a family atmosphere, and, a really supportive, positive place to be. And, we want that to extend to the team as well. We definitely, as I kind of said earlier, our kids do well and we're having fun when we're enjoying what we do. And so keeping that environment is super important to us. I think you can work really, really hard and it doesn't have to be this intense pressure-filled feeling all the time. So, we try to keep things positive. We keep things enjoyable. We're going to work our athletes really hard. They'll tell you there's a lot of days when they're on the track after the workout kind of spent. But they love it. They love what they're doing. We are working on building a team that, can compete at the highest level in the MAC. And I think we're taking some really big steps towards that. This year was our highest regional finish for the women's team in cross country in 20 years. So that was really cool to see. And so it's like things are coming together, and it's balancing that supportive network where I think this year our team did a really, really good job of running for each other in cross country. And that is just going to continue to feed off itself, and that's what's going to make us better when the girls are out there and they're racing for each other. They're racing to do the best they can for this team and this school. And just finding people who want to buy into that atmosphere and want to be a part of this group.
While coaching at Central Michigan, what have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish during your time?
So like I said, this past year was pretty cool getting to we placed, oh gosh, 11, 12. The only reason I can't remember is I think we tied for 11th, and then the tiebreaker we were 12th. And we were only a point off of 10th as well. So that was pretty cool in the region for cross country. This past year in track, we had 2 people qualify for the regional meet in steeplechase. So that was really cool. That was my first regional qualifier who made it in that event. Last year too, our DMR placed 3rd in our conference championship, which is exciting. We decided to take our athletes out of their individual events because we thought we'd do better coming fresh into the relay. And the goal was to get a medal, and top 3 get medals. So that was awesome getting a 3rd place there. So it's been really cool to see some of those go forward. And then again, I haven't been here super long, but in terms of like taking steps forward, we've got some really good international kids coming in next year, which we're excited for. Something I haven't done yet is, working with international recruits. So I think that's going to be fun as well, as getting a chance to work with different types of athletes. And, hopefully the goal is to have people, being consistently in the top 3 in the MAC. And then one of the men I coached, he broke the school record in the mile the first year I was here, and then last year broke our cross country school record. So that was pretty cool too, especially with that happening after we're only a cross country only program for men. So to be able to do that in the few recent years has been a lot of fun.
Of course, what does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go into college track and field?
So the recruiting process is a lot of honestly getting to know different runners. It's one of those things where I reach out to dozens and dozens and dozens of kids, and whether it's emails, honestly, these days a lot of Instagram messaging is surprisingly how kids tend to contact you and tend to get a hold of you. And kind of just starting with getting to know them and seeing, hey, does this kid have the personality, the goals that I think are going to mesh well with our team? Do they want, are they driven? Are they excited to work hard? And obviously evaluating the athletic side is super important, but I think having that balance is key. If they're the fastest kid in the state, but they don't care about their teammates, and they don't care about school, and they're just gonna kind of show up and mess around, and they're doing it off talent. It's like that may not be someone who's gonna help our program move forward. So I think it is making sure that they're the right fit for being a positive influence and being able to contribute and more than just athletically on the team. But yeah, as you get to know kids, we bring kids on unofficial visits first, just getting to know them again a little bit more, giving tours and things. And then in the fall, we tend to do most of our official visits for the kids who, we think we really want to make a part of our team. And so that was a lot of weekends this fall. We had kids on campus, and then, just kind of narrowing it down from there and seeing who's interested and who wants to move forward. But yeah, it's definitely a process that, you might talk to 100 kids and you get 3 or 4 of them. And so just kind of learning how that works the past couple of years has been a lot. And I know there's so many ways I can keep improving on my recruiting.
For those prospective student athletes coming to Central Michigan, what does that official visit look like and getting to see the campus and the track and field facility?
So we often do our official visits on the weekends. So a lot of them this year we did like Saturday, Sunday, and we often did home football game weekends, just because it's pretty cool to see campus when it's alive and there's people and things going on. And so, often the kids will get here sometimes Saturday. If they haven't been to campus before, we'll make sure they get a tour. They'll get to attend a game. Usually we have group recruiting visits, which I think is really helpful. Because then you're not the only new one, which can be a little bit intimidating when everyone's asking you the questions and you're the only person who doesn't know anyone. And so we'll have like a group dinner with all the recruits and their parents and the student hosts, and we like to have them have the evening with just the team. That way they get they can see them without us. They can ask them questions about what it's really like. They get to stay in the dorms and see that. Depending on the students, sometimes we have practice that they'll attend. Sometimes they'll attend a meeting with a professor. We always make sure they meet with our academic advisor, just because that's obviously a super important part. We want to make sure academically this is the right fit for them too. And, we think they'll be successful here. We always end with a closing meeting with the coaches. Again, just to kind of go over, hey, where do I see you fitting in? Where do I see your career going? And getting a little bit more one-on-one time and a chance to really get to know if we think they're going to be somebody we want to be on the team.
As a track and field coach, what is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that Central Michigan Marine track uniform for the first time versus your seniors putting it on for the last
time? So I had actually my first recruit who I brought in did finish the season, even though it's only been 2.5 years. She was a graduate transfer. So it was, I had texted her after her last race and I was like, oh, you were my first recruit, to get to see you through your whole career here. So that was kind of bittersweet. But it's pretty cool because, yeah, you see them when they're in high school and, they're all excited about, oh, what's this going to be like and things. And, even like I said, I haven't, been here for a whole class, like a whole 4-year class yet. But even the kids who were freshmen when I came in are juniors now, and just seeing how much they've grown up in those 2.5 years it's really cool. They're a lot more confident. They're a lot more self-assured. I think there's just so much more they understand, whether it's running, school, life, any of that. So it is pretty cool. And that, it is the last 2 spring season, especially because, most of our athletes compete in track as well. That MAC conference meet is generally our last meet. And so, it is kind of crazy watching them line up and being like, this is it for them. This is their last chance to be here. And you can see how emotional it is for them just because, like, this is their family. These are their best friends. This is, where they've chosen to live the last 4 or 5 years. So it's pretty special to see kind of like that progress, that progression. And it's one of the things too as a coach, there are some athletes who become better than they've ever imagined, and there's some who honestly had struggled a lot of their career. And just kind of balancing those emotions of like, I think every athlete probably walks away wanting a little bit more, even if things went great or, if things didn't go great. And so I think it's just helping them appreciate the experiences they had, and like last year, one of the girls I had worked with had, she was just full of injury. Unfortunately, her body didn't handle it very well, but she did PR in the 1500 in her very last race. And, she was just crying afterward with, you know, tears of joy and just like, oh, I'm so glad I got the chance to like, do this. And it didn't obviously go as well as she wanted her 4 years here, but she was like, just so grateful to go out on a good note like that. And so getting to be a part of that and see that is really special. And I think that's why I've really enjoyed the transition from being an athlete to being a coach myself.
For you as a coach and a former professional athlete, what has that been like seeing your college athletes go on to the professional route in track and field, whether it's for a national team or on the professional circuit like you did?
So I haven't coached too many yet directly who have gone on to the professional level, but I have had teammates at Michigan who went on to the professional level as well. And that is always really cool to see because, you get a chance to compete with them in college. And then you really see like, okay, professional athletes, I think, sometimes look like they have it all together and everything's perfect and stuff. And when you're a part of it, you're like, oh, they have ups and downs like everybody else. I think probably even more struggle just because they're pushing their bodies to the limit so much more than, the average person, an average runner. And so I think when you really understand like the journeys to get there and the processes to get there from where they started, that's pretty special. And getting a chance to, whether it's a part of it as like a teammate, I'm hoping I do have athletes one day that I get to coach to, to make Team USA and, whether it's world championships and Olympics and things. But even just having like previous college teammates, I had mentioned Nicole earlier, was a little bit older than me, but was a two-time Olympian for Canada. And then one of my other close training partners, she also finished fourth at the Olympic trials 5 years after me in the same event. And so just kind of cool to like know what it took both of those to get to that level and get to be a part of that. And like I said, I think just understanding that there's so much more that goes into that than just what you see when you're, watching them on their race day.
What are some of your future plans at Central Michigan moving forward?
So in general, we're honestly just trying to be the best team that we can be. I think some of our big goals are to become a team that's, top three competitive in the MAC, whether that's in cross country and track and field. We're hoping to do it in both sports there. And so, that doesn't happen overnight. I think that starts with like recruiting. It starts with just getting, that buy-in of, hey, this is what we want to be a part of. This is, the kind of team we want to be here. We're willing to work hard for that. And I think like we've taken some really big steps towards that this year. I think we're bringing in some people for next year that are going to contribute really well to that, which I'm very excited to see. I think, just helping continue to build and establish that culture where, this is a group of, men and women who really support each other, who really are a family and they're super close. They're always hanging out. They live together, both in the dorms and off campus and things. And so it is pretty natural. But, we want to make sure that like that's a community that that continues and that becomes something like, hey, people, when they think of the MAC, they think of, oh, Central Michigan, that's one of the best places to be in that conference. I think that's a really big goal. And then, gosh, way down the road, it would be awesome to get a cross country team to nationals. I think we still got, some work in that area, but, that's something like mid-majors can do. They've made it before. And so it's like, why not us? And so starting to build a foundation for that sort of thing now.
What advice would you give those future incoming freshmen entering their first year of track and field and cross country?
So there are a lot of transitions that come when you go from high school to college, not just in running, but in life, with school, with being away from home, with honestly completely different schedules and freedom and things. And so I think one of the biggest things is taking care of yourself. There's not going to be someone there, a mom or a dad telling you, okay, go to bed at 10, you need to do this and that and take care of that. So, really learning how important all those little things are, getting enough sleep, managing your time, not trying to tackle too much at once. I think, those are all super important. And I also think like accepting it may take time to adapt to all those changes. A lot of times I think freshmen come in wanting to prove themselves from day one. And okay, I'm going to be, the best runner as soon as I show up. And so they train like crazy over the summer and they come in really fit. But a lot of times when freshmen do that, halfway through the season, they just start to burn out and fade. And, sometimes it's just tiredness, sometimes it's injury and different things. And I think it's like, hey, buying into the long-term goals and the long-term process and not trying to overrush your success. I think that's what sets college runners up to do really well is thinking of it as a, more of a slow and steady process of, okay, I don't, I'm on this team because, the coach saw something in me. I don't have to prove it on day one. So it's like giving yourself time to adapt to the training and adapt to the changes and really listening to what your coach says and taking care of yourself. And, I think that's what's going to help you be successful, sophomore, junior, senior year, however long you're there. And just, yeah, just understanding like it's not overnight and making sure that everything you do is kind of done with those long-term goals in mind.
What advice would you give those runners out there that are looking to go professionally, whether it's on the club level or for the national team route?
So a lot of times, people understand how hard the training is and how that works and what that looks like. But for the professional running side, there's so much that goes into like the other aspects of your life. And, whether it's making sure diet, are you eating well? Are you eating enough? Are you getting rest? Are you making sure you're not burning yourself out by doing too many things? Are you doing it? You're lifting, getting massages, doing PT and rehab and all those little things. I think just making sure that's a part of it as well. If you ever get a chance to like, watch like the videos and things on professional runners and stuff. There's these awesome workout videos and all that cool stuff, but they don't always show like the boring day to day of like, oh yeah, I had to take my 2 hour nap and, I had to rest today and sit on the couch and, there I am making another like kale salad, all that, which is a little stereotypical. But I think, sometimes just understanding like like the monotony of okay, this takes up a lot of aspects of your life and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just one of those things where understanding like there's a time in your life you can really do this and to really make it worth it, like there are some sacrifices that takes, and maybe it means okay, I can't go on every family vacation or do all this other fun traveling and stuff. It's just really locking in and dialing into like the training and recovery side of it. But at the same time, it's, getting a chance to see what you can really do as an athlete and dedicating yourself to that, whether it's for a year or, a couple years or a decade. I think that's something that's pretty cool. And if you ever get the opportunity to do it, it's, go all in and just see what you can make it of it. And just kind of enjoy that process. And you do have to enjoy it, I think, to really be able to give it your all to it.
What advice would you give future people looking to get into track and field and cross country and being college coaches in it?
So for people who want to be college coaches, I think, it is understanding the lifestyle of it, because it's, it's not your typical 8 to 5 job. You travel a lot. You're, like we talked about recruiting a bit earlier, like that's a lot. There's a lot of commitments, a lot of time getting to know people, building relationships, whether it's recruits, whether it's athletes on your team. There's, like you said, in that way, there's a lot of sacrifice as well, whether it's like time from family and personal time and things. But I think also finding somewhere that allows you to have some kind of balance. So here I have a 1-year-old and he comes to practice quite a bit. And this is definitely a school and a coaching atmosphere that's really open to my family being a part of things. And I think that's been really, really important. So, Kyler just learned to walk a couple weeks ago. And so, all the kids are super excited to see him kind of toddling around. And so it's pretty cool that he gets to sort of grow up and be a part of a team like this. So there's some really awesome parts of it too. But I do think understanding, that it's not really a job, it's more of a lifestyle when you're coaching too. There's really not an off switch very often. And so, if you're passionate about the sport and the people in the sport, I think this can be, the kind of place where it doesn't feel like work and where you love what you do. So I do think, also being able to manage that balance though, because it's easy to go all in to the point, where everything is about it. And then, you do burn out a little easily. So I think, knowing it's a lot, but also being able to have, a little bit of space for yourself amidst all of that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Central Michigan Track and Field program at?
So I believe I'm on Instagram. I think it's Amanda Eccleston 1500. Not gonna lie, I have not posted nearly as much in the past couple of years. And then Central Michigan is on C-Mich Track. And we have a ton of stuff that we put on our Instagram, and we're on Twitter as well there. So definitely cool places to kind of follow along with how the team is doing.
Thank you again, Coach Amanda, for your interview and best luck in your future with the Central Michigan as a track and field coach.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Amanda, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.